What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another video. In this video, I wanted to talk a little bit about the compact camera point and shoot trend, craze, whatever that's been going on. I know it's not exactly anything new, but the thing that kind of piqued my interest in it again is I was down visiting my friend Brad in Columbus, and he was like, hey, someone gave me this box of cameras, do you want any of them? And most of them were the little point and shoot compacts from the aughts, the 00s, whatever you call that decade. So I was like, yeah, sure, I'll take them. And then when I got back, I started looking at some of them, looking some of them up, and then realized I had some boxes that contained some point and shoot cameras as well, digital, that I had just never even thought about. In my mind, it was kind of like, why would bad digital ever come back in style? You know, digital just gets better and better. And so what would the point of anything like this be? There's also kind of, I've noticed two different complete tracks with the compact camera thing, trend, whatever. One is, you know, younger people, for the most part, who just want to try out something that's not a phone. So the things that are more like, you know, these old Canon PowerShots or the Nikon CoolPixes and stuff like that. I think there's a couple other trending ones. There's companies that are making real cheap ones again and stuff like that. And then there's like the higher end compact camera thing, you know, the cameras that still exist, like the Ricos and stuff. Man, they're still selling a camera that came out in 2018. You know, the Fujis obviously were a big part of that trend still going on, one of the brands that kept making them. But the bigger brands like Canon and Nikon, who kind of dropped the high end or the higher end lines of compact cameras, are now struggling to get that stuff back out. You know, Panasonic and all these other companies basically just putting out rebadged cameras with USB-C to comply now with the same old sensors. So I've just found that really interesting. That trend makes total sense to me. The idea of having a small camera that takes really good quality photos. You know, I have a lot of friends who are visual, they're into maybe even videography or photography, and they want something that is high quality, has the shallow depth of field, but that they can put with them. You know, I'm a cyclist, so I travel all the time with cameras. I actually use an R8 mirrorless camera, interchangeable lens, and I use the smaller plastic lenses on it, so not compact and pocketable, but I do understand having something lightweight that takes quality photos. The thing I'm more interested in, though, kind of right now, is the idea of shooting with bad digital cameras, for lack of a better word. So I was kind of looking into the trend and thinking about it a little bit. This Canon PowerShot, this is the SD790 IS. This is a 10 megapixel little guy here. I actually like the design language of these Canons. I have a real early 2 megapixel one too. So I think that's part of the idea with the younger people getting into it, is the idea that it's not a phone. And there's a couple things about that. One, ergonomics of cameras, even these straight boxy cameras, are still way better than a cell phone. Cell phones are a pain if you want to use the good lenses, I find. The ergonomics of them, the idea, again, that it's not a phone, and phones now have become so processed. I think people are liking that a little rawer, which is funny just to describe digital that way, because it's just never what I saw the point of. But I think it goes just hand in hand with why the film trend started a number of years ago, when it was a reaction to just DSLRs and lenses and good lighting and all that kind of stuff. People wanted to get back to basics, and obviously the lo-fi look comes and goes. It comes and goes in commercial photography. The other thing, you know, some of it's just a social media trend. Been influencers who have been carrying these cameras, so kids want to carry them. But that flash, that direct flash look, has also really come back in style. I would also say, in a way, it never goes out, because it's always what's used when someone wants to show, like, even in a TV show or an advertisement, the idea of a throwback. It's always that direct flash gives the idea of a snapshot, and that has kind of just been a design language in culture for a long time. So yeah, just having a trendy, lo-fi look that's not a cell phone is interesting. One thing that I found kind of funny, I was at the coffee shop, I took a picture with the Canon of my little things, and then I'm like, oh, I'm gonna post this. And then I realized I can't, because it doesn't have Wi-Fi. I'm so used to taking my R5 or my R8 or whatever modern camera, Wi-Fi it over, use my phone, put it in Lightroom, give it a good edit, give it the crop I want, and then upload it. And it's funny hearing the kids say, like in some of the interviews I've read, the kids, that one of the things they like is that separation between when you take it and when you could post it. I only ever thought of that as a film thing, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, you have to go, you either get it developed somewhere and scan somewhere, or you go through the cool process of doing it yourself. And that separation and making the shots more precious, I had never thought of it in the terms of digital, that there would be a generation where having to pull a card and put it into your computer would be part of that. To me, that's just a hindrance with the way I've come up through digital. And speaking of that, I kind of missed this era of camera. I never used them. I kind of still had my film cameras. I had an SLR and then I had a point and shoot, and more or less I would carry the point and shoot when I would go out and I would really want to capture something. And then I bought, I think, a Rebel XT in 2006. So I just never had one of these because then my goal became to become a photographer and just to be getting the best quality images I can. Then I wanted lenses, then I wanted lighting. So the whole digital point and shoot thing never was something that I was involved in. I did have a friend who always carried something like this, and I'm glad he did because he's the one who really bridged the gap for me and my friends of capturing our lives between film and cell phones. So beyond just the maybe trendiness of a look or social media thing or all the other things I've talked about, I think another unique aspect that I found is I've been carrying this camera, and I'm usually carrying it while I also have a nicer camera, or I'm making my cycling videos and I have my GoPros or my Pocket 3 and stuff like that, is the challenge of making good photos with more archaic technology. It's something that I've enjoyed in film photography. Like I'll shoot the old box cameras where you really only have 2 settings usually. So you've already loaded the film and you have 2 different apertures or maybe 2 different shutter speeds and you're not even sure what they are. And so the goal to make like really good photos with very limiting technology. So I have noticed the kind of fun element of having that for this reason too, is it's just something like, what can I do to make this work, to make a good photo? But then also, like I mentioned, the trend of just blasting people with the flash. I've been doing that too because, like I said, that's something I've never shot. My goal has always been to avoid that. I always wanted to learn off-camera lighting, or, I've got a bounce right here because I've got my key light right here and all that kind of stuff. I kind of wanted to say too, with any kind of trend in photography, one, it is important as a good photographer to at least pay attention to it, because as a commercial photographer, this might be a look someone would request of me. A little less likely, but it happens. In videography, I'm seeing it all the time with low budget digital cameras for like a look and stuff like that. So I do think there is a reason to pay attention to it, but I also think the idea of just getting on people's case for enjoying something is dumb. I think you pass a certain age in life, they've always said like people don't mind an angry young man, but an angry old man is lame. I just think of it like, I didn't even watch this last Super Bowl, but when I see the post from some middle-aged white dude about not liking the halftime show, yeah, bud, that ship sailed for you. You know what I mean? Like the last halftime show I probably ever was gonna like was Tom Petty. Who cares? I was also thinking of this in terms of, I used to play in bands. I was at this neighborhood party, whatever you call these things, like a fest with vendors and music. And there was a band of, they were teenagers. Their name was Detention. They're probably still in high school. Great name for a band of kids, right? And they covered a Black Keys song from probably 2003. Black Keys are from here in my town too, where I was seeing this. And at first my reaction was, that's lame, covering like a modern band and blah, blah, blah. And then I did the math of when I was playing in bands in the late 90s, the stuff we liked was late 70s and early 80s. And so if we had covered the Akron band Devo, which we liked, that time gap would have been the same. So a lot of what you don't like is just called getting old. I get the been there, done that mentality of I already did that, I don't need to go back. But you can't look down on younger people who never did, you know what I mean? And there's also the nostalgia factor for some of them at a certain age too. Like this could be the look that they were getting when they were kids because their parents owned these cameras and this is what their childhood looks like. There's definitely that film nostalgia to me of looking at prints and slides because that's what my parents had shot. So I would just say take a step back before you start like always slamming the younger generation, because a lot of times it reflects more on you than it actually reflects on them. It is kind of funny because I already posted about these cameras on my bike channel. I showed myself carrying it, showed a little bit of the video, and a number of people had commented that they dug theirs out and they either just messed around with a little bit or they realized the price has gone back up and they sold them on eBay. So I looked on eBay and they're all over the place. Like this camera, I saw someone listing it for 30 bucks. I saw someone listing it for 300 bucks. There's always going to be the it cameras, like someone shows some. I remember that from the film era when film really first came back into style. It would drive me crazy because I had just been scooping up cameras for years, and then all of a sudden someone would show a camera and then that price would go through the roof. But that's the way it always goes, right? Like as soon as they go out of style and people start losing them and getting rid of them, that's when people want them again, and that's what makes stuff worth money. So just to wrap this whole thing up, what is the point of a point and shoot camera in this day and age? They're just kind of fun. They're not a phone. They have better ergonomics than a phone, and it could be just a little challenge and something different to do. I love everything about photography. I love trying different things. So for me, it's just another thing to go out. Why be touching this thing in a month? Probably not. I'll probably move on and try something else out. Probably something that is vintage and more higher end, or who knows. I've got a couple cameras on the shelf in the works that I'm hoping to make videos about as the weather gets a little nicer. So we'll see. Anyways, thanks as always for watching. I will see you in the next video. Peace.